Hello. I'm Dash. This is all the way down, and I'm here with the other guy.
The other guy, that's my name.
What up, Knox?
Hey, buddy. I just had to update the title live to 22, all the way down, episode 22.
Yes. I've got some shit that I'm like really excited about this week. What about you?
I've got some shit that I am party mild about.
Oh, all right.
So,
I think I talked a whole bunch last week though, so I feel like I should just let you take it away.
yeah, that's fair. I'm trying to think of what I want to organize. Man, I'm also trying to think of the things I talked about last week because I got a stack of games here. I know I talked about the Atlas motorcycle racer on Super Nintendo.
Yep.
I know I've talked about Sakura Wars before.
Yep.
No, I've talked about these fishing games. What is the stack that I was going through? So, I never got to actually play Tomb Raider like I wanted to for that challenge.
Well, again, that's like not until October. We're gonna both be playing it.
Oh, I thought that was
October,
August.
No, didn't we go through this when you mentioned it before?
Most likely.
I think we're both gonna be playing Tomb Raider in October.
Mm-hmm. Went through Blaster Master Zero. Have I talked about Panzer Dragoon yet? On the Switch?
I think you. I don't remember. A little bit.
I think I might have, actually. It's an on-rail shooter. Have you seen it before?
Kind of.
Where you ride
Not
a dragon?
really, though. I've only seen like the Dreamcast one.
Well, I'm gonna Dreamcast, Xbox, OG Xbox, Panzer Dragoon Orta, right?
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
the original Panzer Dragoon Saga, right? Was
Saturn.
The Dreamcast game?
Saturn.
Is that a thing? Saturn. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I haven't tried those either yet. Let me see. I think everything that I have played new has probably been on PC. And, man, I guess the one thing that's going to come to my mind first off is a game called Grip. And I may have mentioned this on the podcast before, but I actually gave it a little bit of a deeper dive since then. And that was a while ago if I did talk about it. But have you heard of Roll Cage? I feel like I've definitely had this conversation with you.
I don't remember Roll Cage.
Roll Cage is a PS1 game. It's a PS1 arena. It's weird to call it an arena racer, but that's kind of what I would call it. It's Mario Kart, except without all the Mario and all the kid stuff. But also, like, you'd think on the spectrum there, you'd go to the other end, like, oh shit, there's probably explosions, there's probably blood, and there's screaming, like Twisted Metal or some shit. No, it's not that either.
Okay.
It's pretty much right in between where there's pretty much no violence. It's all just, I mean, of course there's explosions, but imagine a really immersive, okay, and for context here, I was about to say racing game. I'm sorry I keep going on tangents, but have you ever seen that RC car commercial in the 90s called Ricochet?
Yes, those were the RC cars that if they flipped on their top,
Yes.
they could still drive upside down or right side up.
Huge revolution in RC car toy technology, because most of the time, I don't know if you guys ever had this as a kid, but I had a couple RC cars as a kid, and you'd fuck around with it for literally 2 seconds, it would get stuck on something or flip upside down, and then it was useless until you took 10 minutes walking over to it and then flipping it up again. This kind of like, this circumvented that. Anyways, the car design is such that it's just 4 big fucking tires and a car somewhere in the middle, such that, yes, you can land on your roof and still be able to go forward in that direction. Pretty cool, tactic, that's not the word I was looking for, technique of development. And now what that allows you to do in a racing game is it allows you to add a lot more surfaces and such on a track instead of just being a single two-dimensional flat track that you're driving on, you can get a lot more Hot Wheelsy with it, where you have well, A, multiple tracks, of course, but B, it's like you're kind of in like a tunnel in a lot of different times, and you kind of have to choose how fast you want to go, because in certain points, it's actually up to you to manipulate the gravity from being on the ceiling to falling back down, manipulating it via your entry speed to get you to a certain part of a track. Does that make sense?
Okay. You're talking about like you have to move fast enough to
You
go
almost have
through
to.
a loop?
It's almost like you have to run forward and then jump to fall back upside down. Kinda, yeah. Like what you said.
Like that part in Men in Black where they are driving through the tunnel
Yeah,
and they
that's
hit the button, they push the button?
that is a great example. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about. Because when he hits the little red button and the fucking turbine engines come out the back of the Ford Crown Victoria LTD, the whole fucking thing just goes on the ceiling of the tunnel, because there's a flat surface up there with which you could drive on if ever hypothetically you could, because that's how tunnels are designed. But also, B, it's up being centrifugal force, like shoved against the ceiling. So like that's kind of like a lot of the situations in racing here. So you get like this cool, like not Hot Wheels effect of racing, where it's obviously super unrealistic, arcadey, fun, craziness. And a lot of it's down to reflex and all this, but then you pour right on top of it the entire Mario Kart item system, except most of it's guns. And God damn it, I didn't know until like a recent update, but they totally added a blue shell mechanic, and that is my gripe with Grip. They added a blue shell mechanic.
Because I was just going to ask, like, I'm a little confused as to whether you're talking about roll cage or Grip right now.
Yes. So Grip is the spiritual successor made by some of the original dev team at the company, published by Psygnosis, that made Roll Cage. So Grip is a modern interpretation using, I want to say, the Unreal Engine. Pretty sure it's Unreal, and making it something that the PlayStation 1 could never do, which is high frame rate, good high texture graphics. With Roll Cage, it's definitely a 30 frame game, which is kind of a bummer, because it's a high action game, and at certain points where it doesn't have to render a whole lot, it moves pretty fast. Like, how a PC game does when you go inside a game, or inside a house inside of a game or something like that. That's kind of what I'm talking about. It gets a little bit of a boost here and there, but mostly it's a lower frame rate game for what should be higher. So you get what you didn't get before, and you get it in a little bit more modern and familiar of a system, because I'm sure a lot of people who would enjoy racing games like that would probably also enjoy Mario Kart. So, yeah, I could be talking out my ass here, but the thing I just complained about, the blue shell mechanic, is why I actually fucking hate Mario Kart. I'm okay with SNES Mario Kart. Actually, I don't think that one had a blue shell, did it?
I don't think it did, no.
It's the only one that has
Not
Super
that I remember.
before its title. Super Mario Kart.
Yeah,
I liked that one. It was a neat little game. But like any kind of game where there's a mechanic for the person in dead last place to just royally fuck the person who's done well in the game pisses me off.
Yeah, it is funny too in Mario Kart, because it's like if the person in last place gets a blue shell, that doesn't even help them,
Yeah.
To knock out the person in first place a little bit doesn't even advance them at all.
No, it incentivizes you to race in second place for the whole fucking match.
Well, as a Mario Kart connoisseur, I disagree.
Ooh, hang on. I like that you're a Mario Kart fan. This is good. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had to point this out because we are like so opposites on the things that we like, and I like hearing your perspective. Go ahead.
Well, if you're playing well enough in Mario Kart, you should be far enough ahead where one explosion isn't gonna even put you in second place. It
I
should
agree.
make competition stiffer. Because if you're well into first place, then you don't have to really worry about green shells or any other weapons, because no one is that close behind you. You know what I mean? And so the blue shell is kind of the only threat. Plus, in Mario Kart 8, they added a weapon that's able to destroy blue shells. Have you seen this? Have
Ooh,
you
no, I
heard
have
about
not.
this? Yeah, there's like a speaker it is, and it just makes a little shockwave around you that can blow up the guys that are right next to you.
Oh,
But the thing
maybe.
is in that one, yeah, the blue shells don't just ram your ass immediately. They kind of like hover up above you and then drop on you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hit the speaker while they're above you, it destroys them. So they did address that too.
Nice.
In
Yeah.
8, that
Is
is.
8 is the one that's on the Switch, right? The only one on the Switch.
Yeah, well, it was originally on Wii U,
That's what
and
I was
then
gonna
Mario
ask.
Kart.
Yeah.
Yep, and then 8 Deluxe is the Switch version.
Did they add content?
That's a good. I think so. Well, okay, so 8 had DLC, like they
Mm-hmm.
added a couple more tracks and characters and stuff. So the Switch version has all that stuff in it. I don't remember if there was anything else that they added. There probably is, but I don't super remember.
I'm kind of doing
Uh,
this thing where I want every game that got ported from the Wii U to the Switch. I kind of just want it
mhm.
for Wii U because I
Oh
like the
yeah,
Wii U a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah, well, don't miss out on Tokyo Mirage Sessions. It's like the best one.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember watching you go through that on Twitch. I didn't watch too much of it, but it looked interesting.
It's very good. So okay, so you're talking about grip is like so what I'm hearing is it's like a fun arcadey racer, but it is not cartoony. That kind
Correct.
of reminds me of an old game called Blur that was like heavily advertised. It was supposed to be like a fun arcadey karty style racer, but like for adults.
That sounds familiar, Blur.
Yeah.
Did you ever play
I
it?
I didn't play it. I don't know how far it got. I just remember seeing a lot of advertisements for it and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know how much more I can talk about grip though. I mean, like it's um I will say some of the tracks that I were on may have been, if they weren't, felt like they were user created, because some of them were really shitty and not really well thought out, like texture wise, that didn't even look right. But I think those were just, they had to be community. I'm not sure, but the game itself, I'm like, if you go to their Instagram, that's pretty much the only place I've seen them promote, and they kind of like they have a good team promoting it. It's like they have a post here, and it's like, hey, we got this new DeLorean car in. It's like, whoa, you could get this model now. Or, hey, what's your favorite thing about this track or something? And I don't remember seeing a whole lot of engagement when I last looked, but man, not there's like nobody who plays this game. Like you go on Twitch at least, like no streamers play this game.
So yeah. So a couple other details, right? So you said it's on Steam. It's an indie game. I'm guessing, based on
I think it's
everything
fair
else
to
you're
call it
saying.
indie because I think they have one of those names for their studio that's like, directly taken from a game, if that makes sense.
Oh, like it's inspired by another game title or something?
Yeah, and I'm trying to
Like
think of a game to give you an example for that I've heard.
Symphony of the Night Studios or something like that, but you're like, wait,
Project
what?
Aces for the Ace Combat series. That's pretty,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, you're saying more something like that.
Um yeah, essentially. Like the opposite of which would be like Rare, because Rare makes everything, and everything that they
Right,
make is
right.
good, and it's all different.
Yeah. But at this point, like Persona is just made by like P Studios or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, exactly. That's a great
Yeah,
example. I
okay.
didn't think that. I thought Atlas was still making that directly.
Well, it's Atlas, but
Just a
like,
division of Atlas.
yeah, like within
Hmm.
Atlas, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Um,
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's. I guess what I was trying to say was there's just not a lot of people playing it or knowing about it, and I like the game, man. It needs a little bit of work. Like, keep in mind, I've played this game for a grand total of maybe 4 hours so far, so I don't know the game yet, but I do know that whenever I play it, single player. Oh man, and another thing is it's not well optimized at all. Like I have to play it in legit 720p, with all the settings
Okay.
down in order for me to stream it, which I did the other day.
Yeah, you were mentioning that a second ago, and that seems like a really big deal for a racing game. I feel like
Yeah.
if it's if the action is relatively fast, I can't imagine it being
When the
under
gr-
60.
when the graphics are cranked and it looks great, my computer still runs it pretty well just fine. It's just when I'm trying to stream it on the same PC, that's when it takes a
Oh,
dump.
okay.
Yeah.
Now that said, too, so is it multiplayer? Like,
Oh yeah, it's meant to be online multiplayer, and that's kind of like the big thing about this too is like you never used to be able to play Roll Cage online. It was a PS1
mhm.
game, and like then you had to get people who liked racing games, and then you had to get people who can stand split screen. Oh my god, I hate split screen. That's another rant. But
Yeah.
um, I I played a demo of it. It was on a demo disc that I had a long time ago, and it was phenomenal. Just one track. I mean, simple power ups, weapons. Like you get a shotgun, you get a chain gun, you get missiles, you get homing missiles. In the new game with Grip, I think some of those are exclusive to Grip only, but Grip also has like this shield, like it'll deploy like a holographic shield on just the back of your car to avoid getting hit. It has the blue shell mechanic, which in this game it's like a blue flare that just like a rocket, like psh, and then just launches in front of you and slowly just goes off, like a blue shell would, but more boring, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and
Did you
it
ever play Crash Team Racing?
yes, and I loved it. I loved Crash
Yes,
Team Racing.
because that game had the orb, which was like a blue shell. But if you were juiced, remember if you were juiced, where you had collected 10 fruit,
Mm.
then the orb would hit every player down the track until it hit the first guy. See, that's something that actually helps the guy out in last place if he
Yeah,
uses it.
there you go.
Uh,
I don't remember that because the last time, man, the last time I saw that game in my hands was returning it in the slit at Blockbuster. So
oh,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
don't remember the juiced mode, but it sounds familiar. I do remember this about Crash Team Racing. I had way more fun in arena mode than I had in the actual racing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of people really liked the battle modes. I remember Crash Team Racing also having a good adventure mode where like you drove around a hub to find the different challenges and that kind of thing.
Oh, I don't remember
Um,
that.
yeah, yeah. I remember the single player was pretty cool on it. I haven't played it in a long time, but from what I recall, that game was really cool. Like better than you would expect, kind of.
Yeah. I
From Crash Bandicoot being like, "Yeah, we're doing it too."
That game wasn't Naughty Dog, was it?
I don't know who actually made it. If Naughty Dog actually made it, I'm not sure.
I don't think Naughty Dog did make it. I don't think Naughty Dog had the experience at the time for racing games like that. I'm pretty sure they
Yeah,
just contracted it out.
there was also Crash Bash, which was like the Crash Bandicoot version of Mario Party.
And I
I had
wanted it.
that too.
I never saw that in stores to buy it. I was so mad I couldn't find it.
I
I'm looking this
remember
up.
playing it and liking it, but I mean, I was a kid. It'd be really interesting to see if it was any good now.
Yeah.
Especially now that I've played a bunch of Mario Party, and I don't think I had back then.
Naughty Dog did indeed develop Crash Team Racing. Wow.
Oh, sweet.
I shouldn't doubt them. They're like one of the best video game companies.
Yeah, well, there you go. Now Crash Bash, on the other hand, was made by Eurocom Entertainment Software and Cerny Games. So,
Eurocom. They made
yeah, whoever the hell that is, I don't know.
well, they went bankrupt in 2012 apparently. Eurocom is known for the Game Boy NES Lethal Weapon.
Okay,
um,
are they really
the
known for that though?
well, I'm just naming things that look familiar. Known for such amazing hits as Family Feud on the Panasonic 3DO.
Oh, cool.
To be fair, it
Well,
was also a
hey,
Genesis, but yeah.
from what I remember though, Crash Bash was pretty good, but maybe I should play it again and find out.
Oh, 40 Wings. I remember that was a good demo. I played that. Oh, and
But
they
anyway,
also did the Mortal Kombat Gold Dreamcast port.
wow. I so much stuff I've never heard of.
Wait, you haven't heard of
Uh,
Mortal Kombat Gold?
no, I've heard of Killer Instinct Gold for N64.
So, uh, Mortal Kombat Gold, if memory serves, is just Mortal Kombat 4, but way better and on Dreamcast.
Yeah, I think we've touched on this before, but like my entire experience and knowledge base around Mortal Kombat ends with Trilogy.
As it
Trilogy was like
should.
that was like the last Mortal Kombat I played. It already had 100 characters in
Yes.
it. Actually, I recently did a quiz. I was doing like some quizzes online on Sporkle, if you've ever heard of that site or been on it.
Sporkle?
Yeah. There's a website called Sporkle that, they just have like a bunch of quizzes that are kind of fun, and you can pick a category, right? And I was looking through the video game categories, and there was one that was like, can you name every Mortal Kombat character?
Ooh,
And I
I
was like,
can.
oh. And I was like, fuck yeah. I go on there. I can name like half the guys from Trilogy. But then there's just years and years of characters that I've never heard of after that. That's just like, I had no idea this was happening.
There's a
Because
few.
it's
I was gonna say there's a few that even I would have trouble with. Like I think there's characters like Nitara, um, Scarlet. I don't fucking understand Scarlet.
but then like what's funny about it is that I did like kind of look back at Mortal Kombat on when they did Mortal Kombat 9, That
Mm.
one I paid a little bit more attention to because it was like Mortal Kombat's back, And so I was like, "Oh, look, let's check it out." And all the characters that I saw in that game were, Rain and Ermac and Baraka and
Yeah.
stuff. I don't even,
Well, that's because
it was
9 is trilogy essentially.
yeah, it was all the characters I recognized.
Yeah.
So, I had no idea that there was just like years and years of other characters that I'd never heard of. You know what it's exactly like? Not to go on too much of a tangent, but
Oh,
it's
let's do it.
exactly like professional wrestling, where when I
Oh.
was a kid, I watched WWE, except it was WWF at the time. And
No, no, no.
and
Oh, I'm sorry. I get WWE and WCW mixed up all the time. But yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I watched like SmackDown when I was a kid, and then it changed to WWE at some point. But
Yep.
then I didn't watch it for years and years and years. And when I came back, it was like all the same people still doing matches. It was Brock Lesnar was still the champion. We were still talking about The Undertaker. We're still talking about Shawn Michaels. So anyway,
Which is
that was just
funny
a
because like I dropped off of WWF before Brock Lesnar came in, and as soon as I came back to wrestling a little bit, I heard one of those names, Brock Lesnar. I'm like, who are these clowns? And little did I know, he's just like, one of the largest fucking humans on the planet.
yeah, he is a very large dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, all right. So any final thoughts on
On
Grip?
Grip,
Are you gonna play more of it?
I'm gonna play more of it, but honestly, it's hard to recommend other people play it because I can't stream it. Not yet. Not until I get a 2 PC setup.
Okay.
It can't handle it. It's a bummer. It did handle it, but it made it look like it was a launch 360 game,
Right.
graphics wise.
So yeah, for people who aren't streaming it though, maybe check it out.
I'd say check it out for anyone. Right now, I think when it's not on sale, it's only $30 on Steam. It goes on sale pretty frequently from what I've seen. I mean, it's everything on Steam really does. But if you just need like a fun racing game that's not like a simulating game, it's just like something that's fun to play with physics with. It's like half racing game, half shooter, half physics fun box. Honestly. Recommend it. Grip, go check it out.
Sweet. So I've been playing. Okay, how do you feel about fixed camera angles?
I love limitations, but when I played, and this is actually, thank you for asking. This reminds me of a game I could talk about tonight. When I played Resident Evil 1 and 2, couldn't stand it. It didn't work for me. but I did play a game recently that is like a clone, a spiritual, like, like it wanted to be exactly like Resident Evil 1 and 2, like on the PS1, where you have the fixed camera angles, quote unquote, even though it's pre-rendered backgrounds. And you move about, you have tank controls and all that. And I found it to be incredibly engaging for how slow the action was. And I thought it was actually really fun. But that's just, the Resident Evil style game. Fixed camera angles in what context?
Well, yeah, Resident Evil is kind of what I'm getting at.
Oh, okay.
Is because yeah. So what game were you talking about a second ago?
Vaccine is a game called
I've
Vaccine.
heard about this. Isn't this like a roguelike?
Yes, and I didn't find that. This is the beautiful thing about it. Kind of wish you didn't say that. So, like, it is a roguelike in that you start off in a room, and you start off in a different room every time, and you work your way out of that room, and the camera angles, you find out after a few rooms, it gives you this really cool sense of overarching horror, and it uses the fact that it's a roguelike to its advantage in that aspect. So essentially, you wake up in a room, you got like a knife that you can pick up off the ground. Your wife or something is in bed and you're trying to save her. You need to get the vaccine and you have 30 minutes to get it. So you have 30 minutes countdown to get this vaccine to her. There's zombies everywhere, Resident Evil style. Some of them are a little faster than others. You get a little pistol. You can get a different weapon too, but like, Resident Evil inventory style, yada yada weapons. It's pretty much exactly like Resident Evil. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. You have tank controls. You can use the arrow keys to left and right turn your direction that you're facing in the room in a 3D space, front and back to walk forward and back in that direction. And then you use that to use your controls to also hit a key and pull out your gun and aim your gun. And, you got to make sure you're pointed just right and make sure you can hit the enemy and all that shit. But it's a roguelike in that you keep moving once you get to these rooms and you're like, oh, fuck, I've been here before. But you haven't been there before. It's just that room is repeated in a pattern that you do not understand until, honestly, it'd probably help you if you could take the time to write down a little map, and that way you don't get lost. Because that's part of the
in-game.
There's no map in game. No, it's hardcore. I like to call it hardcore because I get that from first-person shooter games. No HUD, no HUD,
Okay, no HUD.
and it's super easy to die.
Mm-hmm.
Could be talking out my ass. Maybe there is a HUD, but it's very minimal. My memory of it is that it was minimal. There probably is a HUD. I have a terrible memory.
Okay.
But anyway, you're focused on the timer. That's pretty much the only HUD I remember is the timer. So you're running through, trying to figure out, oh fuck, have I been here before? No, I haven't been here before. It's just exactly like the room I've been in before. And so you got to figure out which way to get back and yada yada. It's a countdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything like there's locked doors that you got to find keys
Yep.
for?
Locked doors. It's a puzzle kind of thing you got to work out. Graphics-wise, it looks very similar to the Polygon-esque style of the characters in Resident Evil, while you have that 2D pre-rendered background that your polygons just walk on.
Really? The backgrounds look like they're 2D pre-rendered even?
Boy, man, it's been weeks since I played this. I hope I'm remembering this right. As far as I remember, that or I'm crossing wires in my memory about another game that I wanted to tell you about that was fantastically atrocious. But we'll keep talking about Vaccine for a minute, though.
Yeah.
So Vaccine is it puts you in such a really great state of mind that you would be in like a horror survival game. Like, oh fuck, have I been here? What am I doing? Do I have ammunition to take on whatever's in the next room? Can I dodge it? Can I run? Can I use an object to my, to get the fuck out, to get the vaccine? Or conversely, you're thinking about, oh fuck, maybe I have to come back this way, and then can you get through it then? It's a lot of stuff going on. in a small amount of time. The action is very slow, but it's very like, you know how in your nightmare, whenever you're having a nightmare, you punch like your arm is like made of 2 loaves of bread. Yeah, that's kind of how it is. You kind of feel that struggle through the whole game. Like, why is a gun so ineffective? Like, why do I have to shoot a zombie so many times for it to go down? Maybe there's like weak spots, etc. You kind of look for. Could you use a melee weapon? Yes and no is the answer a lot of times. Because if you get a knife against a zombie, I mean, you can get a couple stabs in, and they're still going to bite you. And But like against other types of creatures, that may work. Like say a guard dog or something like that. I don't know. It's
So, in Resident Evil, a lot of the time the strat is like you shoot a zombie a couple times till they fall down, and then you run up and knife them while they get up, and then like if you haven't killed them yet, then you run away and you start shooting them again.
Why is that funny?
This is high level Resident Evil play.
High level Resident Evil play or sadistic torture? You pick. It's got this dark, dingy look to the graphics. It's not bright and colorful. It's dark. It's like you're 1 minute it's like you're in a hotel room, and then the next minute it's like you're walking out the back of a mansion, and it's like what is this building? Where am I? You know, it's very. It puts you in a sense of unease, despite looking like you're playing a PS1 game and it being pretty lo-fi, you know. And that's honestly kind of becoming one of my favorite genres of games is the horror genre, but incredibly hardware limited. Because like the power of suggestion is just like, dude, there's like memes that you can look up online of people making horror stories from 3 sentences, like 3-sentence horror stories.
Oh, sure.
I love that kind of stuff. The fact that people can be so creative under such ridiculous limitations. This is why I was bringing up that game Faith in one of our earlier episodes, where it's like Commodore 64 graphics.
Well, yeah, definitely. Like, if you do horror right, you can just kind of suggest something that then makes the viewer just kind of imagine something scarier than the actual prop that you can make, you know, or that kind of thing. Right, like someone just kind of makes up whatever the scariest thing they can make up is in their head without even trying. You know, if you just suggest that something's wrong.
And on the opposite end of that spectrum, you have things that can have all the high fidelity graphics all day, and be flashy as fuck, and it just hyper realistic, puts you in that mind space. Super easy to get immersed into the action is what I'm saying, and then use such a simple concept and repeat it over and over. And people who have played PT probably know I'm talking about PT, which is the fear of what's right around the corner.
Yeah. Well, PT is definitely like like that game is super, super good looking, but it does kind of a similar thing.
It's so stupid though. Yeah. But it's so effective in how stupid it is, you know?
Well, I was gonna say it does the same thing of not actually showing you a threat, just making you make it up in your head and be scared of it, you know? Like every time, like the way that in PT, like you can only turn at such a speed, and every time that you turn, your vision blurs a little bit.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so it's like every single time that you have to turn around in that game, you're scared of something.
Yeah.
Not what they've shown you. They haven't shown you anything to be scared of, so you're making up this possibility in your head, you know, and yeah, that's like really effective.
My friend Nikki, I don't know if you've ever seen her in one of my streams where we play the Tales of the Abyss game. She is my ground in those kinds of games because, like, I could not get through PT at all. I was a huge pansy. I couldn't get through it at all, and she was like, "Give me the controller." And she just like fucking like sprinted through there and just did every obstacle, and I'm like, but like there's like a puzzle at the end and you got to figure out what's going on, and things change a little bit. Not going to spoil it for those who haven't played it yet, but will somehow still have the means to come across. It's she got me through that so easy, and I was mad at how like not affected by that shit she is, because I'm the kind of person. It's like I when I play a video game, I'm immersed in it, and that includes like emotionally and sensibly, like all my senses are attuned to it. So like if I play a horror game, I am just like a 4-year-old, just like I'm terrified. But like when it comes to like horror movies, I'm fine. I fucking love horror movies. I can watch it all day. But if I'm in a game, I'm just like it's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, definitely for me, like I feel like I'm able to be really susceptible, but something simple can break it. Like Amnesia, I
Mm.
thought was like pretty genius for the first half of it, right? And I was like super, super into it. And I thought the game was terrifying and I could only play it for like a little bits of time at a time because it was so stressful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But then you get like halfway through the game and you get to this part where there's this, I can't remember his name, but there's this guy that's like tied up in like a thing, and he's like missing his jaw or something, but he's like talking to you and he's telling you that
I
you
actually
have to
haven't
like,
gotten this far.
oh yeah, well,
I was
oh
too
man,
terrified to get that far.
it's a little, well, so the thing is he's like speaking to you, right? But he's there and he's alive, but he's like he
He's
doesn't really
missing his
look
jaw.
alive because he's like missing his jaw and he doesn't really, whatever. But he's like speaking to you in this clear voice, and
Oh,
it's
that
it's
would break it for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of weird. And then not only that, but this becomes like your new little hub, and there's like three different ways to go. And every single time that you walk back into the room, he starts saying the same thing to you,
God
and
damn it.
it like ruins the whole game
Yeah.
because it's so unimmersive. And yeah, so like something like that is just like, ah, damn it. Or like it and
Like that Mass Effect thing I was talking to you about, where you have all this like crazy introduction to this new crazy huge space station that humans are only recently a part of, and you're just like, paying your respects to the people there in conversation, and it's all just this normal flow. And then some of the dialogue options are, what is this place?
yeah.
One of the things that just throw the entire vibe off, like,
Mhm.
instantly. And that's kind of like why I feel like some people are afraid to do, like, that's not the main reason, but I feel like that's one of the reasons some people are mainly afraid to do the negative dialogue option, because they don't want to be mean to an NPC. But also, like, I've seen like games where I would like to take the evil route and do negative dialogue options, but like the negative dialogue options sound either way different from their caption that would hint to you as to what's about to be said, or they're just way off in general. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would anyone say that? It like doesn't make sense to the context of the situation. And
Yeah.
it's just like one of the pre-recorded, like Fable reminds me of this a little bit.
Right, like there's negative options just for the sake of having them.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've made a conversation system where you can either be negative or positive, but it
Yeah.
doesn't always make sense, so they're just contrived.
Or
To
if
be
it's like
fair.
an Elder Scrolls game and you see the negative response options, and you go, but you want to do whatever, but like you can plain as day see what the response of the choices will be that like clear as day are going to advance the plot. And it's just like,
Yeah.
well, if you're not trying to waste your time with dialogue options, click this. And I guess, for a game with mass market appeal and people who don't like reading a whole lot, maybe that's a better thing for the game, but it's unimmersive, It's one of the things that takes me out of something. Like, why have the dialogue? Do I have the dialogue option if it's just going to be shitty?
Yeah, and like back to the like horror games kind of breaking you out of it too is like it also makes me think of Alien Isolation,
Mm.
where I feel like there's a game that like has a lot of good atmosphere in it, but when you see the aliens start to act like a video game character, then it like totally breaks it, right? Like you can see the AI pathfinding, like
Mm.
figuring its way around a room with this like dumbass character, like alien NPC walking around on its hind legs like it's a guy in a suit, and it's just like, oh, and I can see the Matrix and it's ruining it.
Or the endlessly memeable again Elder Scrolls NPCs that walk literally into furniture and push the shit out of the way and
Right, yeah. Oh man, the most like unimmersive thing about Elder Scrolls to me is the way that like you can approach someone who's sleeping,
mm.
and you press E on them, and they just instantly
Wake the
like they
fuck
just
up.
they wake up, they sit up, they finish sitting up, and then they beam at you, they turn straight to the camera and say good day, and you're like, what? Like this doesn't. Oh boy. Anyway, all right. So speaking, we got on this talking about like horror and fixed camera angles and stuff.
Yeah.
I just played through a brand new horror game that came out like a week ago, called Tormented Souls.
Yeah, man.
It's
I
on
saw.
Steam.
I think I saw you tweet about it. You had some pretty damn good things to say about it.
Yes. So this game it's like the super old school Resident Evil style where it's fixed camera angles, you've got tank controls, you got to open up your inventory and pick your items or pick your weapons, combine the ammo with the gun to reload it and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
It's more like the Eternal Darkness or Code Veronica style of fixed camera angles though, where the camera does move. Like if you're in a hallway, the camera will follow the character through
Mm.
the hallway,
Because
like
Code
it's on a
Veronica was
rail.
the first like 3D Resident Evil. You're saying, yeah,
Exactly. And
gotcha.
that said, this game is 3D. So yeah, it's like for some rooms the camera is in position, right? And maybe it just like pans to follow the character. Some rooms it's kind of on like a rail, where it like follows you down. And then a lot of the time, like most rooms have multiple camera angles in them where like so you got tank controls where, like you were saying, you press left and right to rotate your character. You press forward to move the character forward from their perspective, not yours. And then, yeah, sometimes like you walk across a room and the camera angle will like change a couple times to show you different things. And the thing is, like a lot of if you haven't played a game like this before, you might look at it and just think that it looks like it's a big pain in the ass and you can't see anything and you can't really tell what a room looks like, because you don't have the free action of moving the camera around to look at it yourself. But what it does for you though is it's really, really, really good at setting a mood. Like whenever you watch a really good movie versus a poorly directed movie where like there's interesting camera shots and camera shots that make you feel a certain way because of how they're done, it introduces that into a game. So it's like I kind of hate a lot of the time the whole idea of like it acting like a game is cinematic, and
You don't
and
like
trying to
those?
make games into movies. I'm like not into that normally, but you that it's not quite the same thing as just saying that a good camera angle sets a mood, which it does.
It
So
does, yeah.
yeah, so fixed camera angles really allow the game developers to control like the mood of each room.
Totally.
Like yeah, like some hallways, for example, sometimes the hallway will be really tight around the character and the camera will be really up close, right?
That
Following you.
claustrophobia feel, yeah.
Yeah, following you down the hallway and it's super claustrophobic, while other times, one thing that I love, and I remember talking about this a lot during when I was talking about Resident Evil 2, is when the camera's placed kind of behind something. I always love that too, right? If you've got something like a ceiling fan, right, or something, or just some kind of foreground element. If the camera's kind of behind it, kind of obscuring the character a little bit, that gives you like this weird feeling of like I think it's like being watched is kind of how
If the
I
camera is
interpret it.
behind an object, you're saying?
Yeah. So like there's an object in the foreground that's between your character and the camera,
Uh-huh.
right?
Okay.
That always gives me this creeped out feeling like I'm being watched, right? Like someone's
Oh
hiding
yeah,
behind
yeah.
this thing, you know?
Absolutely.
Stuff like that I really like. There's also this one particular use of a Dutch angle that I really, really loved in this game where like you enter this one hallway, and this is kind of before you've really seen this is early on in the game, before you've actually seen any shit yet, you know what I mean? Where they're still setting the mood and they haven't like shown you a scary thing yet. You get to this one hallway where the camera is super Dutch one way, you know, as in it's tilted.
Yeah.
And it's doing the thing where it's a hallway, it's a dark hallway, and the camera's behind your character, Dutched out. And as you walk forward, the camera straightens out as it goes forward and then like starts to Dutch the other way. So you
Oh.
get like this whole like twisting feeling
As you
down the
progress,
hallway.
like so, like when you're at the end of the hallway, you're a full like 180 degrees cocked to the left or something like that.
I mean, not that extreme, but
Well, yeah,
yeah, like
like 70 to 40. I don't know.
it's like you're Dutch one way starting and you're Dutch the other way ending, and it's like it's super cool the way that it's done.
Let me ask
Um,
this. So Dutch angles. I'm not a film person by any means. I hardly watch anything honestly, but wasn't one of the movies that used a lot of Dutch angles like wasn't it like 2001 A Space Odyssey or something like that?
I
I used to
haven't
use a
seen that
few.
one.
Okay, we won't argue.
But yeah, I mean, I really can't say enough good things just about like fixed camera angles and what they can do for a game in general when the game is made for them. And like just the thing like placing a character within a door frame and stuff with like an upward shot on like there's so many things that you can do that just that really make the game super moody
It's just
because
like
they
a downward looking up, like a little bit offset angle. That's the Dutch angle, right?
well, I think Dutch just means that the camera is not level. It's at an angle,
Really,
right?
that's all.
Looking
Hmm.
up might make it like more enhanced, perhaps, but I'm not positive.
Yeah,
But I think it really just means that it's rotated that way.
gotcha.
Um, but anyway, so the th- getting to Tormented Souls, the thing is that this game uses the fixed camera angles really, really, really well. So you've got tank controls, you've got fixed camera angles that are done super well, and the environment that you're in is like they say it's a hospital, but I don't know, maybe things were different in the 40s when this hospital was built. But it really looks like a mansion. It's got like a main hall with statues in it and stuff, and there's a
Did we
east
play the
wing
same game? What's
and
going
a
on here?
west wing. Yeah, they say it's a hospital, but it looks a lot like a mansion. So yeah, the other thing about like there's so much stuff to like gush about with the game. But getting the basics down, right? You're in this hospital kind of environment. The story is that you receive a picture you receive an item in the mail, and your character Caroline is tempted to or feels that she needs to go to this hospital to investigate what's the deal with this picture I received in the mail. It's very kind of Silent Hilly with the set like Silent Hill 2. Remember in Silent Hill 2, the setup is like he
I
gets a letter from his dead wife and is like,
hmm.
"Wow, my wife is dead. I guess I better go and investigate." It's kind of like that. And so anyway, um combat wise, it's very much like Resident Evil, where you don't like aim at different, you don't go over the shoulder and nothing like that. It's like you point your gun and you shoot, right? And then you get, your main weapon is a nail gun.
Ha!
So you find like nails around as your ammo, which I just think is great. Um, and so yeah, the thing where it really pops off though, because all of this is just like, okay, someone made a Resident Evil game that's recent. But what really like pops off and is really great about the game is the story that's being told, I think is super, super intriguing. With like what you get in the mail is a picture of a pair of twins, and as you explore, there's all this stuff talking about like twins, and all this whole theme about like all this research being done on twins, and
Ooh.
like what's the reason. And then you're finding these diaries from a mother and a father that were trying to have children, but they kept failing, as in like miscarriages kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then eventually they have a pair of twins. And then like some shit goes down with like their grandparents kidnapping them. And you're
What?
finding, yeah, and you're finding the diaries of both the parents, the grandparents, the kids themselves.
What?
But you get it all like out of order, and you
Oh.
need to like really pay attention in order to like piece together what happened in the story and why. Meanwhile, the mansion that you're in is super gorgeous. Like it looks really good, and the puzzles, and this is where we get into like the best of the best stuff, is the puzzles and the map layout is absolutely beautiful. The way that basically the whole mansion is split up into like four main areas where there's an east wing and a west wing, and each of those has a first floor and a second floor. And the way that the game is paced is just gorgeous. The way that like first you're in, the first floor east wing for a while, and then at some point, oh, you finally, you keep seeing like, okay, this door has like this door is locked from the other side, that's normal. This door is locked with a key. This door has like some kind of knob on it, that's or it's missing a knob.
Yeah.
This door has like this weird puzzle key lock on it, and I don't know how to interact with that. So you find all these things, but then eventually, at some point, oh shit, you get the item that allows you into the main hall, and then that gets you access into the West Wing. Whoa, now we're in the West Wing for a while, and but it's almost like a Metroidvania a little bit
Really?
in some ways, where you keep seeing these things that you can't interact with yet because you don't have the abilities yet.
What platforms did this come out for?
I played it on Steam. I don't know if it's on anything else. It's only $20. Uh, so a lot of the time though, like a lot of your progression is like the Resident Evil style, like this door needs a disc, and oh, I found the disc, and now I can get in there, right? And that's not Metroidvania. That's just like regular adventure game stuff where you just need to get the thing, and it has you ping-ponging through all the different parts of the mansion, right? Here you get the thing that works there you get the thing that works over here, and all that kind of stuff. And all the meanwhile, you're
Yeah.
seeing all these other things that you can't interact with. But then there is a little bit of that thing where like, for example, there's this one mechanic in the game is that if you're ever in complete darkness, you can just die,
What?
because like you're in total darkness. But you always have a
Anything could
lighter.
happen.
Yeah, exactly. Anything can happen. It's pitch black, but you do have a lighter, so you can always light up the area around you, so you can go anywhere. It doesn't matter, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm watching like actual footage of this while I'm listening to you, and I just saw like there's a dude laying on like a gurney, and like you just have him hooked up to like electrodes and wires, and like like an old school like 1920s Frankenstein throw power switch to fucking light his heart up or some shit. The game,
Oh yeah.
the game actually, you're not wrong, dude. This game looks beautiful. Like face wise, like AI wise, like the look of the characters, it's weird because they kind of look like marionettes, if that makes sense.
So if I have any like little bit of criticism,
Which
I
adds
do
to
have
like the horror aspect, I think.
I do have a little bit of criticism about it here and there. let me finish gushing real quick though.
Oh,
Like,
can I gush with you real just about one thing?
okay,
I'm
yeah,
looking at the graphics of this, and it looks almost like it's like a hybrid between a. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at the inventory at part of these in part of these scenes, but it looks like it uses your inventory as well as like point and click adventure game aspects on
yeah.
top of the 3D movement and all that.
So definitely like one thing to point out with the way that the puzzles work is like so in Resident Evil, for example, you might go up to a doorknob and it will describe to you something like the door is locked. The doorknob has a picture of a knight on it or something like that, you know? While this game will just zoom the camera up onto the doorknob so you can see it. And
Yeah,
it doesn't really describe it to you, you know? You just have to look at it.
that's what I'm
And then
looking
if
at right
you
now.
yeah, and then, like, if you click on the different parts, it'll give you a little description of it at that point. But
Hmm.
I love that, because it makes a lot of the puzzle solving feel a lot better, where, like, you don't just go up to the door and use the crowbar, right? It's like it zooms up on the door handle,
Hmm.
and you need to, like, kinda use the items in the correct places and that kinda thing to make it a little bit more intuitive,
Yeah, like
and a
what
little
I was just seeing was like it was a key. Like it was like it zooms into the doorknob, shows a couple. This doorknob looks like you could secure a fucking a fucking what's that word? A vault with it because it's got like 5 different icons that come down from the doorknob
yeah.
that look like fucking rare Donkey Kong Country power ups, and like one of them, the thing that's actually on the screen is this really cool 3D render of a neat looking classic key, except the key has elements of like a combination lock on it. It's got circles, triangles, squares, and it's like you're using like a combination lock mechanic on a key to change the arrangement of pins on the end of the key to put that key then into the lock to see then if you can unlock the door with that key. It's like a weird, cool combination lock skeleton key mechanic.
Yeah, and that's a really good example of how the game works with its puzzles where as the player, what's happening is unlike a lot of other games that I've seen in this genre where like what would happen is it would like bring up the doorknob which has these pictures on it and you need to figure out the combination on the key to put in the lock. You know, you would have that all on the same interface, but in this, it's like you actually have to go into your inventory and examine the key to bring it up, and when you're on the examining the key screen, you can rotate the parts of it, and then you exit back out of that, and then you get to back to the doorknob, and now you can use the key on the doorknob, and if you did it right, it'll work, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, which I really like because like it sounds a little weird in that context, but it does make it harder to brute force, you know. But then there's other contexts where it works, where it's like you get at one point you get a staple gun, and it has an adjustable. Or okay, at one point you get a monkey wrench, and you know a monkey wrench you can adjust the size of the wrench on it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but so when you try to use it on the doorknob, it doesn't it's like too big or too small or whatever, you know? So you actually have to like examine the monkey wrench and use the dial to get it to be the right size
Yeah.
and
Cool.
then use it on the door, you know, and that kind of thing. So that's like the little stuff, but then like the actual puzzles
I was I was gonna
themselves
say that
as you
sounds like something that was like petty, but would positively piss me off.
Right, exactly. Like when I did that with the wrench, I questioned it for a second. Like, do I like that the game made me did that do that? I'm not I'm not positive. But by the end of the game, I'm really into it. You know, there's a part where you got to pour gas into a thing, and you gotta make sure to open the gas lid first, you know, and like that kind of thing. Like
So,
that game, don't shit your
so you're sitting there just pouring gas on a closed tank, just
Right. Well, the other way around. It's like you're trying to pour gas out of a can where there's a cap on it, you know.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah.
that's that's. I like that it's immersive. See that it's a fine line. I think that games have to walk, because especially during certain situations, because if it's high action or low action, that can change it entirely. But there's a fine line that the video games have to walk between. Am I being immersive enough to keep the player's attention? Or am I being too immersive enough such that everything in the game seems like a hurdle or is tedious in some way?
Right.
In other words, am I making how do I put it? Am I making Valheim or am I making Shenmue?
Sure. Yeah. And definitely I found this to be not tedious at all because
Good.
usually, yeah, I really liked the immersion of it. So back to the darkness mechanic that I was talking about. Like one whole aspect of it is that you have a lighter, right? So that's how you kind of light up everything around you. Um, but you can't have the lighter and a gun at the same time. So if
Classic Doom 3 problem.
right, but in this game, if you're in the pitch black, then you're dead, right? So like you can only fight enemies if there's another light source. So you might have to find there's like
A
candelabras
candle, yeah.
around sometimes, that you can light, and then you can stand next to that to be able to shoot the enemy, that's in
Classic
the
amnesia
darkness.
mechanic.
And yeah, so like and I won't spoil like what the mechanic is, but that was the thing that felt a little Metroidvania-ish to me was when I would find there were certain corridors that were blocked by an enemy that I couldn't defeat because there was no light source around, you know?
Oh.
And so then it was like, wow, now I actually need like a character ability to get past this foe, you know what I mean? And like so it had that going for it as well.
See,
So
I'd be looking for
overall,
road flares or something to toss at him or some shit. I don't
well,
know.
yeah, but and that's what I mean is that like that would be a mechanic that would be helpful to you in general, and then also would solve this problem, you know.
Hmm.
And that's what gave it that other feeling. So yeah, overall, like I thought that the just the fact that it's fixed camera angles and tank controls like got me interested in it. And then when I played it, I was very pleased to find out that like it's done super super well. Where like the camera angles are really tasteful and they really set the mood very very well. And then the action is really like classic Resident Evil as well. The way that the mansion is designed with the different wings and the way that they have you running back and forth across it because of the different things that you're finding, especially with that key that you're talking about, where like you keep seeing this one type of puzzle that you just have no idea how to interact with, you know? But then you get the key and you're like, oh shit, now I can go back and go into every one of those rooms, but every one of them has this puzzle that I gotta solve on it, you know? That are like pretty tough. That was really cool. And then the puzzles in general are really really good. Some of them are logic puzzles, like where they give you a bunch of symbols and you sort of have to figure out what the symbols mean. Sometimes it's like a thing where you have to like read a note where like there's this one that's like a note about this trial, right? Where it talks about like the judge reading the sentence and the defense attorney just sitting there and the mother of the accused is like frantically frantically writing on a paper, and then the blade fell on the neck of the innocent, and you need to like so you read this story and you're like, oh shit, but it relates to this puzzle though. Then you've got this puzzle that like you have to move the blocks around in a way that lines up with the story that you read, and like stuff like that I just think is super cool. So yeah, the puzzles were really excellent, the exploration and the pacing was really excellent. I mean, this game
Well,
is just fucking awesome,
one thing I want
and
to gush
yeah,
about is the lighting. Honestly, the
yeah,
lighting is done so well that the entire game pretty much the entire game, from what I can tell, gameplay footage in this video anyway, all takes place in the dark. I mean, it's a horror movie, so obviously, but like the actual lighting sources in every scene seem to light the room in a way that just makes everything seem creepy. Like
Yeah.
it's not like too dark. It's realistic lighting. It's just the way that the shadows are cast on everything is both beautiful and terrifying.
Yeah, like for one thing, a lot of the time you're lighting up the room with a lighter in front of you, which means that your body is casting like a
Casting
cone
shadows,
of
yeah.
shadow behind you. So you can't see what's behind you because it's, your body is casting a shadow on it.
Yep.
Totally. That's really cool. And then all there are lit up spots though. Like the pacing is very good and there's definitely like moments of respite, right? Where you're in a nice lit up room. One thing I also love is they do like so it also does the Resident Evil ink ribbons thing where you can only save as often as you can find an ink ribbon, you know?
Oh, really?
But in this it's like what you find are like tapes that you can put into a tape recorder so that you can like so that the character can speak and record their progress because they're like making a report
Yeah.
using these tapes.
That's
So I thought
cool.
that was yeah, like I thought that was a really clever way to like give a reason that this is how you save your progress is because she's telling the report. And the character even speaks about the story when you save. If you've hit a major plot point, she like recounts the events on tape, which I thought was really neat also. And I think that they could have done more. Like she doesn't do it enough, I don't think.
Well, you're
Um,
forgetting the classic. There are games that came before this that used this wonderful mechanic. Namely, I'm sure you can think of the game that's on my mind when you think of tape mechanics being used to record your game progress. What's that? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Yeah, you know.
Wait, Tony Hawk used tapes to save?
Yeah, you
I know
just
you could find the hidden tape, but was that how you saved?
no, probably not. I'm just thinking of a floating tape and thinking, oh yeah, that's probably the same mechanic. I'm just making a
That game
shitty
had
joke.
that game had VHS tapes in
There
it.
was tape in there. That's. I'm sure that's how you did something.
Well, so that I'm glad you bring it up though because this game also has some nice some other 90s nostalgia in it. Not just the Resident Evil style, but also there's a floppy disk involved at some point. There's VHS tapes, and so that stuff is kind of fun to see.
And there's a
Uh,
reference to a '90s band that I really like that I want to get you into.
oh yeah, what are you talking about?
Well, there's a band that it wasn't intended, but there's a scene I'm looking at in here where they're walking across like a lit area, and you're coming across a painting, and it's actually, from what I understand, the painting of the beheading of, from what I want to say it's John the Baptist, but like the painting of like the after of that, I want to say, is the painting that got used as the album cover for Cryptopsy's most famous album, None So
Oh,
Vile.
gotcha.
The band whose album before which is the one I was mentioning that you should really listen to, Blasphemy Made Flesh. Anyway,
Okay.
90s band, old school death metal, and I had to mention that because they came across that painting and I was like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. And it adds to the scene because color-wise, that painting itself is very dark, has lots of earthy red colors as well as the blood, but like it goes with the scene of like this Victorian mansion that is, from your words, somehow also a hospital?
Yeah, they keep saying it's a hospital. I mean, there are rooms that are like full of patients and stuff. I think it might be more of a research hospital, right? Like
Oh,
it
research
kind of
on
has.
what?
Uh, well, there's a lot of twin stuff,
Oh yeah,
right, in
true.
the story.
A lot of weird
Um,
like Joseph Goebbels stuff going on.
So yeah, yeah. So I mean, what didn't I say? I mean, I love the nostalgia of it, but also just like the story is pretty darn cool that they're telling, and I thought it was pretty engaging. The mansion is designed really well. The puzzles are great. I mean,
I
this
want it
game
now.
just like It's yeah, I mean, I have very the only negative stuff I have to say is really just stuff that, like, it seems like the kinda stuff that's, like, because I played it the month it came out and it's from an indie team, you're
Mm.
gonna run into some stuff, like, you can't rebind the controls, for example, and I found that to
Oh.
be a little annoying because, for one example, like, okay, so you use WASD to do your tank controls,
Yeah.
that's great, but the run button is shift, which is also your back step button. So if you're holding back S and you hit shift, it whips your character around 180 degrees.
Can I
Now
clue
for
you
some
in to a
mhm,
secret that I found out, actually?
what what's that?
Playing Vaccine tank controls. The game, like, okay, so I did it on keyboard and mouse at first to just figure out how the shit worked. Then I found out the tank controls work off the arrow keys. I'm sure you can reassign them to WADs, but the game got instantly playable and like 10 times more fun the instant I picked up my fight stick. A
Oh,
joystick
okay.
works surprisingly well for tank control games, actually.
Sure.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, you're moving in a 2D plane. So the idea of having a 2D stick, but using it in a way that you're probably not used to using because it's a 3D, like, space of like perception in a 2D movement plane.
Mhm.
A fight stick works surprisingly well, and just not in the way that you think it would work, because a fight stick traditionally works in a way that all of its dimensions are on the same, or all of its movements are on the same dimension, like the same plane of movement. So like
Yeah.
you'd have the y-axis if you're looking at a 2D fighting game, whereas this is the x-axis, but you're looking at it from the z-axis, the 3D view, camera
Right.
behind the character. But you get your left and right from your left and right inputs, and your up and down are forward and back. It's not hard to adjust to after like 30 seconds of gameplay, and that made it like damn good, because like then the only other buttons I had to worry about were the action buttons, which I got arcade, Sanwa buttons, so it's like it almost turned it into like an arcade experience for me. So I'd be
Hmm.
curious to see how this game works on a fight stick.
Sure, sure, and I mean, you can play it with a controller, and so I'm sure I'm sure the fight stick probably just the game will see it as a controller.
Yeah,
Uh,
it will.
but so for me though, with mouse and it's like I love how WASD feels with tank controls.
Mm.
Like the Resident Evil 1 remake, the Steam version of it, I think plays beautifully mouse and keyboard. But here's the thing. So when I'm talking about shift, right? How if you're holding back and you tap shift to whip 180, or shift is your sprinting, some people might just be like, yeah, that's how it sounds like it should be. For me, I want that on my right hand, you know? Like when I play, like my mouse has a back button on it, right? And when I played Resident Evil, I liked having the shift function be on my right hand so that I could just use WASD with my left hand. My right hand controlled whether I was sprinting, or I would just hit back with my left hand,
How do you
on
sprint with your
S.
right hand?
You just hold the back button on the mouse.
Oh, okay, but like to about face the 180, you use like the forward button or something.
Nah, then you would just be holding back with your left hand S, and then you just hit the button, the sprint button with your right hand that you're already using, and it does the 180, you know? I just find it a
Oh,
lot easier to have that sprint slash 180 function be on my right hand when my left hand is doing WASD, which is how I did it in Resident Evil. This game just doesn't have the ability to rebind controls.
it's so interesting
So,
how opposite we are, because I come from a world where I'm so used to first-person shooter controls, where sprinting and such and crouching is all on my left hand, because WADS is on my left hand as well, where all my movement is, control is crouch, shift is sprint, Z
yeah.
toggles between crouch, shift, or sprint and prone if you're playing Battlefield. But like, I see what you're saying though. If I had tank controls, I kind of feel like that might be a little bit more comfortable too, because with tank controls, you have to focus a little bit, quite a bit more on your movement on the WADS keys than if it were just a first-person shooter game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes from just being used to playing games with a controller, like NES and PlayStation and stuff, where
Mm.
it's like my left hand moves my character, my right hand does actions, like sprinting and jumping, right? Now, I mean, if I'm playing like Doom or something, I guess shift is the sprint key in that.
You shouldn't be
So,
sprinting and do them.
well, you should always be sprinting in Doom.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Okay, never mind. You're right. I
well,
think
Doom's
of sprinting as somehow faster than the sprint speed. I guess that's what I was thinking about.
Oh yeah, well, Doom is a bad example because
Mhm.
yeah, the version I play of it has an always sprint option, which I just keep on, so
I,
so I'm
I, I,
always running.
I think OG Doom had always run on too.
Did it?
I think you
Okay.
just had to use like caps lock or some shit. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Anyway, the rebinding stuff though, it comes up a lot. Like for other examples, for like just little criticisms of the game. Like the rebinding kind of came up a lot because there's other things like the space bar is what opens your inventory, which is just kind of weird.
That is very
Uh
strange.
yeah, or like what was the other stuff? I don't totally remember. Oh, there's this kind of weird thing where like when you open your inventory, the cursor defaults to going into like you can either menu around with WASD or you can use your mouse to menu around. But you can do either, right? You can click on the squares that are your items and then click on combine or examine or whatever, or you can WASD around and use E to like confirm and select and stuff.
For your
That's fine.
inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But what's kind of weird about it is like you WA it when you first open the inventory, it defaults to the cursor being on the first item for you to use WASD. But if you do want to use the mouse, the moment you touch the mouse, it doesn't move it from there. It like moves your mouse over to the last mouse position, and then you move it from there, which like
Is
would be
jarring.
it's jarring. It would be fine if the game remembered that you use the mouse every time and just defaulted to the mouse after the first time, but it opens up on the other thing every time. So it's just, like little things like that are just kind of weird about how it controls.
It could be worse.
Uh,
It could be one of those games where when you alt tab back in or whatever, or when you just use your mouse to go back to the program you were like the game you were playing, it just the first input, no matter what, is the input that you used to get back into the game. So if
oh
you just
yeah,
select the task, the first thing is mouse one. So mouse one just
right.
happens. So if you're playing any kind of game where shooting is a thing, you just shot a fucking round off. If you're in any kind of stealthy situation, you just gave away your position.
Yeah,
If you're in fucking Sea of Thieves like I am, a lot of the times you can do something that may maneuver you to fall off the fucking boat.
yeah. I was talking about Alien Trilogy last week, and that game totally has that problem. Of it's a PlayStation game.
Hang
The
on,
loading,
hang on. I'm
yeah,
talking about like all tabbing back in. You're saying a PlayStation game has this?
yeah, because of the loading screens. The loading bar finishes and it says you press X to continue.
Oh
You
no.
press X and it shoots your gun when the level starts.
Dude, this is my
Um,
same problem with Mario when you go through a door in 2D Mario games where you go through a door and the first input to start moving in the next level sends you back to the last level through that fucking door.
when does that happen in Mario though?
All the time. All
What
the
are you
time.
talking? You press up to go through a door in Mario.
I know, and for some reason that up still goes through when I try to move. I don't know,
Oh, so
man.
you're an accidental upper.
I'm an accidental upper all the time.
Why don't you use your fucking fight stick that you're always talking about? That'll solve that problem too, right?
Any person who's ever played fighting games with me will tell you I jump all the time. Accidentally.
um. So, all right. Man, I don't remember if I had any other criticisms of this game. Oh yeah, the other thing is like, so you got to look at your map a lot, right? And to look at your map, you got to like open your inventory, sh- go over to the files tab, and go to the map and examine it. which is kind of a pain if you want to look at the map a lot. I feel like it should just be bound to like tab or something. Like
Mm.
if you press tab, it should just examine the map, right? That should have a shortcut.
Tab is like
Eh,
the
you know,
universal map button.
yeah,
I
that's just
agree.
a little thing, right? Oh, one more bitch to say about the inventory system. And these are just little things that I feel like could be patched. Really the biggest thing is that you can't rebind the controls, but there's little
Yeah.
things about it too. Like uh okay, so the inventory screen is laid out as like 3 columns wide of square items, you know? So there's however many rows, whatever. And then above those 3 columns of items are 3 tabs. You've got weapons, resources, and files, right? However, if you, when you let's say you're highlighting the middle top item and then you go up to the tabs, that the 3 tabs that are above the 3 columns, it doesn't if you're on the middle item, it doesn't go up to the middle tab. It moves your cursor over to the left of the
Why?
tabs. I don't know. And it's also not consistent. That's only if you're on weapons. If you're on the resources tab, then it'll move your cursor to resources. So you might be like, Dash, it just moves you to whichever tab is active. Not true. If you're on the files tab, it moves you to resources. So so when you want to change tabs, it's just like kind of awkward because it just like moves you up weirdly to the tabs. So just like it's an indie game and it shows with little things like that sometimes, you
And it
know.
shows.
Um, sometimes the game always tells you that you can click on something to interact with it. Like when you go up to a door, it gives you the icon that you can click on this to interact with it. But some doors randomly tell you that you need to right click them, even though you need to left click them. Like
What?
yeah, like every door is left click to open, and you'll always know because it's always left click to open a door. But some doors, for some reason, have the wrong icon on them and they tell you to right click them, right?
But you
There's
left
just,
click to get through
but
them.
you left click.
What the fuck?
Uh,
How hard is that to where? Huh?
yeah, so there's like little things, right, where you're gonna be like, okay, this game is $20 and it's made by an indie company, and
You know
even
what that
though
was? That
what's
was
that?
the that's like literally just the developer going upload image, mouse 1, upload image, mouse 1, upload image, mouse 2, upload image, mouse 1. Yeah, I did it all
Right,
mouse 1, not a problem.
yeah, right. Like they misclicked one time
Yeah.
or a few times, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so you'll run into stuff like that every once in a while. And the thing is, it's the only reason that I even am complaining about this is because it's surprising because every other part of the game is so beyond a high budget game, you know? So much about this game is so much better than every big budget game I've played lately, you know? That like then when the little things start to come out like, oh, a big company might have caught this, right? Then you do kind of notice that a little bit more. But there you go. There you go. There's my little thing. So far, Tormented Souls, I think that this is probably my game of the year so far this
Yeah,
year. Like,
that's the thing. That's the tweet I referenced earlier. I was like, this game I've never heard of. Dash played like yesterday, and already he's giving it the game of the year praise.
yeah, it's it's the best thing I've played this year, I think. Unless you
Damn.
count Valheim, I don't know. Valheim's early access. It's hard to say. That game's real good. Returnal was pretty cool too, but nah, this one I think is I would definitely like right now on my list, I would definitely put it a cut above Returnal. And like yeah, it's kind of maybe
Valheim
fighting
has had the
maybe
best.
fighting with Valheim.
Valheim has had the best early access of any game I've ever played.
Yeah, it's real
Any
good, ain't it?
any of them. If I were to say game of the year, though, I mean it's 2021. I don't know what games I've played this year that I consider game of the year.
Right. I haven't played a ton of games that came out this year, like another game I played was Ratchet and Clank Drift
Yeah,
Apart,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of that one. Um
Well, I have a game I could talk about.
all right, let's hear it.
Let me ask you something.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy 9? Question mark. Graphics.
Graphics, yep.
You're a fan, right? 3D polygons on 2D pre-rendered backgrounds.
Yup.
Often low-res image backgrounds.
These are good things.
You're a fan? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what if we take that low-res image background, we upscale it a little bit. Not upscale it, actually. No. We're going to have a whole new image. Whole new game. Probably like, I would say like at most, how about 720? 720.
I mean, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 were also low poly characters on low resolution 2D background.
Yeah, but I'm talking high res, and I'm talking
but
high
now we're talking
poly.
high res.
And
yeah,
high
yeah.
and high.
I was trying to give you a better segue from Tormented Souls into this one, by referencing Resident Evil instead of Final Fantasy. But
you're putting more thunderstorms on the runway, buddy.
Okay. So you're talking. We got high res 2D background. What's on the background?
High res 2D backgrounds. You're gonna figure out what's in the backgrounds in just a minute here. So 3D models, not polygons, but models, nice models on these nice 2D backgrounds, right? All right.
I mean, they're still polygonal. There's just more polys, right? Okay.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think more modern 3D models aren't polygonal anymore. I'm pretty sure they're just
they are
wireframe, aren't they?
Well, what's a wireframe? Each of those wires in the frame is like a polygon, right?
It's a shape, but it's not a 3D
a
polygon. You know what I mean? Anyway. This game,
I think game characters are still polygonal. There's just a lot of polys now.
Of course. It's a weird way to measure it, I would say, because it's not like
right. We're kind of past counting polys. Right?
Exactly.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
We're more on vertices now.
Okay.
But like, imagine these kind of graphics. Now what I'm going to talk to you about is it's going to be hard to believe, but it's not a horror game. It is a game on GameCube where the GameCube can somehow handle these graphics, where you're going to get such intense experiences from places not ravaged by the misgivings of corporations such as Umbrella, but rather places a little closer to home, called like Orlando, Florida. And what I'm talking about for a GameCube is a game called Universal Studios Theme Parks Adventure.
Universal Studios Theme Parks Adventure. When you said like 2D pre-rendered backgrounds that are high res and then you got great looking characters on it, and it's for GameCube, I got really excited because I thought you were going to talk about Baten Kaido's Eternal Wings in the Lost Ocean.
Way better game than that, buddy. Way better game.
But I guess not.
This game got a Metacritic score of 34.47%. So I'll have you know.
Metacritic does decimals now?
No, I'm sorry. I was looking at game rankings. Metacritic gave it 39 out of 100.
Okay. So we're talking about a 39 Universal Theme Park Boner? What's this game called?
Universal Studios Theme Parks Adventure. You are essentially the whole point of this game is to give you a 3D question mark adventure idea, a tour, if you will, into Universal Studios Theme Parks, Orlando, Florida. And there are such wonders such as Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, E.T., Twister, Pirates of the back when Pirates of the Caribbean was Universal.
Yeah, that's Disney now?
Never mind. No, hang on. That's always been Disney. I'm thinking about a different joke that related something. Never mind. There's not Pirates of the Caribbean at this theme park, actually.
Well, okay, so it's a theme park that's got all these other things. What did you say, E.T.?
It's meant to give you the experience.
Wait, did you say Twister?
I
swear you said Twister.
I know I said Twister, but I'm trying to remember if Twister's in it. But
I think I saw that movie in theaters. Go on. Sorry. Go on.
Well, no, no,
Tell
no,
me.
no, no, no. This is an important question you asked because one of the first things I get to. Okay, let me just set the scene for you. This is Final Fantasy VII in HD, as far as GameCube can give you HD, of you going to Orlando, Florida's Universal Studios. So
Okay.
you walk in. There's a bunch of weird polygonal people that don't look like humans walking around, supposedly supposed to being in this part of the park that you go into, and legit, like, you walk through, like, okay, have you ever been to Universal Studios?
No, I don't. Well, it's in Florida.
Yes.
You know what? I think I have. I was a child though. I don't remember.
Me too. I do remember though. I was probably about like 8 or 9 or so. So maybe a little bit older than you did. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I was like 6 or 7.
Okay, so I went there, and honestly had a great time because my other visit was SeaWorld, and fuck SeaWorld. SeaWorld sucks for a lot of different reasons, but Universal Studios I had a fuck ton of time at, a fuck ton of fun at, but like Jurassic Park is like my childhood. That's like the reason I wanted to go there. So I went on Jurassic Park the ride, and let me tell you, Jurassic Park the ride, it's not like what you get in this GameCube game. You get something entirely different, and essentially this game functions as like making all of the different rides into mini games for you, I guess, to get past. And let's just say I didn't play it for very long because the mini games were pretty terrible. I tried Jaws, and Jaws was surprisingly just like when I went there in real life, in terms of what the area looks like. There is one area I was talking to you about earlier, like it's like a big row, and that's where you can kind of go into the left of in the park in the entry. In the game, the real park, at least the entrance that we went to, did not have the entrance here. The real park had the entrance on the opposite side of the park where this was, but there's like a row, right? There's a Hard Rock Cafe there. I went there to eat. Got macaroni that made me want to throw up, and I'm pretty sure the waiter there was actually an extra on a few episodes of Nickelodeon Gacked. Pretty sure there's a contract deal there where like Nickelodeon was also doing something. I don't know. Anyway, the park I was going through, you go through this road, and the road is like this like weird kind of like, you know how Old Western movies have this depiction of like a town as just one road, and like there's just buildings along this single road? It kind of had that feeling, except without the Old West feeling to it. It's just like that, but Hollywood. So you're just walking down this long, big road that everyone else is walking down too, because, you know, there's no vehicles on this big, gigantic road. It's meant for pedestrians. And this is where you go across a building, and the building looks like an old theater. You go in there, and in 1997, 1998, Lil Knox went to Universal Studios. That was Twister. But I want to say when I played this game, which Wikipedia is showing the North American release date as being December 18th, 2001, maybe there was a different exhibit there. Because I want to say it was like, man, my memory's fucked, but like I think it was like Harry Potter or some shit. It might have been Back to the Future though. No, know what it was indeed it was Back to the Future. But this is what threw me off. Hosted by Woody Woodpecker.
Okay.
Did you ever see Woody Woodpecker, the cartoon, as a kid?
I remember the laugh, and that's about it.
That's the most noteworthy thing about it. Honestly, not a bad cartoon. Pretty good if you like Looney Tunes. Either way. It was so bizarre because fucking Woody Woodpecker hosts, like, this is what this ride is like, and yada yada. But dude, you're not really getting to ride the ride. You're not really getting to experience the park as it is. You get to experience a weird artist's vague interpretation of what it kind of looks like.
So, okay.
In Final Fantasy VII graphics.
Confused. Okay, so you're back to talking about the game now.
Oh, I've been talking about the
There's
game the whole time. Well, the game is Universal Studios, the park. So I'm talking about the differences between the park and the game, but I've been talking about the game the whole
okay.
time in what I've been doing. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm sure I've also said mixed up memories of when I was a kid versus playing the game. But
So
yes.
in the game, you're walking through Universal Studios.
Uh-huh.
It is drawn out in 2D for you, like a 2D pre-rendered thing for
And you're
you.
going left to
And you
right.
and you go, "Oh, okay," and you're going left and right.
Yep.
And then sometimes you stop at an attraction, and in real life, the attraction is like a ride that you ride, but in the game, it's like a mini game.
Except Twister. And that's one of the weird things that's surprisingly accurate about this game, because Twister was a ride that you kind of just you don't ride, you walk into. And you know how rides have, like, when you go to a theme park, you have that line and it's got to fold around a couple times. It does that a couple times, but like the ride, quote unquote, is like this area where everyone in your group that's walking through just stands and watches and experiences.
Okay.
So that's pretty accurate because it's a 2D video game. It's like a 2D exhibit almost. But the ride itself for like Jurassic Park, wildly different, because Jurassic Park is like a river boat ride for a lot of it. But yeah.
The more you describe this, the more I think I didn't go to Universal Studios
Did you go to
when I
Disney
was a
World?
kid. I did go to Disney World, yeah. Is it in Disney World or is it just
No.
next to it?
Totally separate park.
Okay.
But still in
I
Orlando, so.
Cause like yeah, that's the thing is like I remember going to Disney World and I feel like we went to Universal Studios for like one day of the Disneyland World trip. But yeah, I don't remember anything about it. And like as a kid, I didn't really know the difference. There was also a place called Epcot or something that I think we went to. I don't know if that's in Disneyland or I don't know. I think there was a big golf ball or something. Uh,
Sounds
I was
familiar. I know about the golf ball like building kind of thing, but I've never
yeah.
been there, I don't think.
I was very young during all of this. But okay, so what how long did you play this game for GameCube?
Oh goodness, probably a good 55 minutes. I don't think I gave it
Okay.
the full hour. But
Well,
like
do you think you're gonna play it again?
I probably will. Specifically because it's a bad time, and
Mm,
I it's
it's a
it's
bad time game.
it's a bad time of a retelling of a place that doesn't exist because their telling of it is so bad. Um, let me I guess show you this part. It's
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that like if the game was good, it would be an interesting time capsule, right? Like let's say Universal Studios was
exactly
very different now,
exactly.
but you could use a video game to see the old one. That would be cool, but it's not this.
The fact that I've been there in real life, everyone and their mom would understand that me as a person who went there to the park in real life, and then me as a person who then experienced this video game after would react negatively to it, and not because the game is bad, which apparently it's pretty bad. But because everyone knows, well, it's like reading a book before you see a movie. You get the real experience before you see the depiction of it. So I understand that. But to understand, okay, this person at IGN in an early review when this came out called it a bad N64 game, which I have to agree with because the graphics are pretty on par with what like the 2D capabilities of the N64 could do. They look good for a Final Fantasy VII game on the GameCube that's supposed to have this amazing 3D, rendering capability, which it does. The GameCube is a great
Yeah,
piece of tech.
GameCube is a super good looking system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's just like this game was so bizarre. Like, okay, so this wiki says the rides include Back to the Future, The Ride, Jaws, Jurassic Park, River Adventure, and E.T. Adventure. Mini games hosted by Woody Woodpecker include a Universal Studios quiz of film-related questions and puzzle games such as Concentration Memory Match. So it's like this shitty like hybrid of like Universal Studios Advent Children, and then with mini games Barbie the Island Adventure style.
yeah.
It's it's not good.
It kind of reminds me. I got this old Simpsons game for NES once and played it, and it was like a globe. I don't remember the name of it, but it was supposed to be like a globe-trotting adventure.
Whoa, I didn't know there was a
And
Simpsons games on the NES.
there's a couple of them. And this one was like, it was like, all right, we're going to China now. But in China, really what the game is just like a memory puzzle. And then it's like, okay, now we're going to,
Yeah.
Europe, and you go to Europe and it's like a slide puzzle, right? And it's like, wait a second. Like, this has so little to do with The Simpsons, and also there's not a video game here. Like, you're promising adventure, but you're just giving me a bunch of puzzles. Yeah.
Yeah, a few games have done that actually, where they just kind of like take a base game and then rebrand it to be more popular, like
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers 2 in the United States.
Hey, they changed that game to make it a lot better. Everyone says, "Oh, it's just Doki Doki Panic reskinned." It's not. Did you know that you cannot sprint in Doki Doki Panic?
I didn't.
Yeah, you can in Super Mario Bros. 2, though.
Nice.
They also added another boss, and they fixed up some other stuff, as well as generally like cleaning up the whole thing and shit. And Super Mario Bros. 2 is a significantly better video game than Doki Doki Panic was.
I've heard it as such, but that's also like saying, Mike Tyson is a better boxer than this one guy who's been fighting for 2 years.
Well, now you're shitting on Doki Doki Panic more than that deserves.
You're right, because I don't know anything about that series, and sorry to disrespect it. I'm sure it's a long-running series that I know nothing about. I hope we get one hate comment 7 months later on this video, so we can explain why I'm wrong.
What's there to hate? I'm here. I'm here standing up for Doki Doki Panic.
Well, I'm here, and I'm usually
Bros.
a reason to hate something, so I'm here. So there we go. Do you want to go to Universal Studios?
Like in my life?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, no.
What? Wait, hang on. You're a movie guy, though, right? Wait, no, hang on.
Not
You're
really.
not a movie guy. You're a movie critic guy.
Yeah, I really like watching movie criticism, yeah.
Mhm.
And, I don't know. I watch a movie every once in a while. But,
Well, hang on, man. Hang on. What? I'm sure there's a Universal property that you have, like, some pretty big, like, childhood or emotional attachment to.
Yeah, that's Universal or that's WB? Yeah, I don't know.
Not WB. Universal. Has to be Universal.
Oh, right. Yeah, for some reason I thought they were the same thing. Yeah, I don't know. What would there be? I saw Back to the Future kind of recently. It was pretty good.
Did you like
Back to movie? It was a movie-ass movie, Back to the Future.
Did you see it? Like, okay, did you see like a sequel, or did you see the original for the first time?
I watched Back to the Future
for the first time.
Yes.
Nice.
Just a few years ago.
Big fan?
It was good. I mean, it was good, right? Yeah.
You and I are probably the same in mind. I'm not crazy about it.
Right. It didn't blow my mind or anything.
I love the DeLorean.
Yeah, like it was an extremely solid movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where here's the plot, right? Here's the characters, here's the bad guy, here's the conflict, right? Here's act 1, act 2, act 3. Here's the big resolution at the end. Here's where everything gets tied up, and you watch it and you're just like, that movie was really solid. It didn't do anything wrong, right? That's kind of how I felt about it, right?
Yeah.
But like, what was the other shit you mentioned? Jaws? I've never seen Jaws.
Jaws? I have a like-hate relationship with Jaws. Because it's honestly it's a pretty good monster movie. Like as a movie itself, it's not bad. If you can get past the corniness, because the special effects are bad. Like the shark is bad. But at the same time, it's big. The shark is big, and like they do a not bad job of shooting it with like good camera angles, timing and such. It's a horror movie, but it's a monster movie, and it's about just making a monster of just normal animals that like will fuck you up, but like they're not mutants that remember a human by the scent of their blood, and they'll come to the Pacific after they met you in the Atlantic. They're not a monster that's going to eat 23 people in 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
And
that is.
I do like a good monster movie. Like, I didn't see Alien until a few years ago, also, and
Yeah.
that movie was fucking awesome. Like,
Well,
whew.
the one last thing about Jaws. I mean, like, I'm a kind of stickler for, like, any kind of animal rights movement. So, like, I'm big on, like, great whites not going extinct. Like, I know they're kind of fucked if you happen to catch yourself in the water with one, but, like, they're pretty important to the ecosystem, and, like, that's when I see Jaws, I understand, like, that's a good fucking monster movie, but, like, I also understand, like, that was one of the things that, like, reinvigorated the panic for hunters to just start fucking killing sharks left and right.
Yeah, like it vilified them.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, the ride itself in Universal Studios, fucking dope. But I was there when where the mechanical shark still actually came up to bite the boat and, like, move the boat around a little bit. Where, like, I think a couple years after that, there was an accident that happened, and, like, there was some lawsuit that happened, and, like, Jaws would still make an appearance, but it wouldn't touch the boat, and it was less scary. And I think eventually they did something, like, they did away with the ride in the way that it was. I think they redid the ride in a different way. But anyway, my original question. So you don't really think you want to go to Universal Studios? I did, because I already mentioned Jurassic Park is, like, you got me. That's my Universal Studios property.
Okay.
I honestly can't remember if Predator was Universal. Was Aliens Universal? Because you mentioned Aliens.
I mentioned Alien just as a monster movie. I don't think it was Universal. But yeah, like, Jurassic Park, I saw it when I was, like, a kid, and I don't really remember anything. I didn't remember really anything about it, but I actually just watched it, like,
Really?
a couple months ago.
Wait, hang on. What age would you say, estimate, when you saw it?
Well, it was in theaters.
Oh, you
So
saw it in theaters. Oh, fuck.
yes. Well, so I would have been, like, 3, because didn't it come out in, like, 93
okay.
or something?
I understand completely now. Yeah.
Or wait, it can't. Nah.
No, it was 92, I want to say. 1992.
Okay, maybe I didn't see it in a theater then.
Well, it would make sense if you did, though, because if you were that young, it would make sense you weren't attached to it, because you wouldn't have been able to process it.
Right. Yeah, it didn't.
Also,
really
why
stick
the fuck
with
did
me.
your parents bring a 2-year-old to Jurassic Park? What the fuck?
I don't know. But yeah, so it didn't really stick with me. But I did watch Jurassic Park like a month ago with my brother. I didn't really like it.
Yeah, I think we talked about this because you had you saw it as an adult, so you understood that as a not adult rated movie, the kids were never in any danger.
Right. Yeah, I just didn't really feel like anyone was in any danger any of the time. The only person that, like, dies in the movie is the lawyer guy that you're not supposed to like, and he dies, like, immediately. You know?
I promise you got to read the book because it's different, and kids don't get off as easy in the book. That's all.
Okay.
That's all I'll say. And the book is fucking. Oh, it's darker and gorier. Honestly, highly recommend. One of my favorite books ever. And I don't think Michael Crichton is just some amazing writer. Although I do think he is kind of amazing, but like he's not like the world's best writer. But like when it came to a few of his stories, I'm a huge fan. And Jurassic Park obviously is pretty far up there. But I will say like if you don't want to go to Universal Studios. The question I was just posing earlier was, would you pick this game up for $5 to get a taste of what you think Universal Studios is like?
Nah.
No, really?
I think I'd pass it up probably. But
I did not.
if I may with Jurassic Park though, I do want to say I thought the setup, the whole act 1 of the movie was fantastic, right? Like them like the idea of the crazy rich resort owner, spared no expense, and did this research, and they explain how the research happened, and then they made the clones, and so he invites the scientists over to be like, check it out, but then they're like, no, this is bad,
No.
right? Like that whole setup, fucking excellent,
Yeah.
I just thought then the remaining 2 hours of people getting chased around by dinosaurs and not really actually being in any danger was kind of boring.
Well, that's
That
kind of
was
like that's the thing with Michael Crichton is like he plays with sci-fi in a way that it goes, hey, how can I make this crazy shit happen? Oh, that's the way this is gonna happen, and yeah, it was absolutely just in the case of Jurassic Park, it's like people are getting more rich now than they've ever been. And we've known more shit now scientifically than we ever have. What's to stop a lot of money going to a place where not a lot of eyeballs can see, to make a lot more money? And it's like, that's a cool concept to explore.
Yeah. So I really liked the setup.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Goldblum was great.
Jeff Goldblum has never not been great. Well, I'm sad to hear that you won't be experiencing Universal Studios and its absolute best possible way to be experienced, which is via the GameCube and a composite cable.
Oh, well, now that it's over composite, maybe I'm interested.
Makes those backgrounds a little less blurry, huh? Makes a little more sharp.
Maybe the controller I'm using can like have like a dog chewed it up, before it started.
I was gonna say the Donkey Kongas, but
yeah.
thinking about the rubber tops that those controllers are made out of, I'm sure plenty of dogs chewed the hell out of them.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It seems kind of hard to get their mouths on it.
Oh, I'm sure they try.
It's such an awkward thing. We've complained about the Donkey Kongas though already.
You have. I never really got any experience with them.
Well, yeah, the big deep mechanical switches. We were both complaining about it. The fact that it's like it
yes.
doesn't feel like you're tapping a drum. It's like you're pushing
a button
down a button that's like real that has like a centimeter of action on it.
You know those big red buttons that had like the steel like you'd have to use a big socket wrench to like get it into place on the control panel. It had a steel ring around it. It was solid steel so it'd shine like the chromium, and it would be that deep set thick, dense red plastic button that you push down into it.
Mm-hmm.
You'd get that sense, except it was just without that whole switch assembly. It was just the button underneath it, like the button underneath the button, and then like a condom on top of it.
Right, that's important too. There's like a layer on top of it
silicone.
That feels extra shitty.
Yeah.
Play a rhythm game with it. It'll be great.
I kind of want to. So I said, okay, one of my streams I did recently was Friday night F _____ apostrophe N. So the joke was that I couldn't decide between whether or not I was going to play fighting games or fishing games. So Friday night fighting or Friday night fishing. And then someone came by my stream and was like, Friday night funkin'? And I was like, huh? Right. And they were like, I was like, what, I've never heard of that. What is that? What is that? And then like, oh, it's like a rhythm game. I was like, oh, rhythm games. I do love rhythm games. And then I looked into it, and does my memory deceive me, or do I see like a modern kind of take on Bust a Groove?
It's been a long time since I've played Bust a Groove.
No, I'm sorry. My memory is deceiving me. It's a modern Stepmania, I think.
Yeah. So Friday Night Funkin' is that's the first thing I thought when I saw your stream title also.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all.
I was like, whoa, is Nox playing Friday Night Funkin'? It is it's a very, very popular new like rhythm game. I think it's really popular with kids, I'm not sure. I have a tiny story with it. I had to babysit my nephew recently.
It's like the UI is DDR, right? Like Stepmania?
It looks like DDR, but you're playing with the keyboard, or whatever.
So Stepmania, yeah.
Yeah, so I was babysitting my nephew, and he was playing Friday Night Funkin' on my parents' computer. And oh my god, it like any time that there was a lot of notes on the screen, it was running at like 8 frames per second. And he was missing like so many notes just because the game was running like shit. but he was just trying it over and like he kept failing because of the dropped shit and frames and stuff. But he just kept trying it, and I was just going nuts, like imagining, like
It's
I can't handle someone having such a terrible game experience next to me. Um, and so I
yeah.
and so I go over there to be like, "Hey, does this game have, like, an options menu that I can look at to maybe, like, get the game to run better, you know? Does it have some, like, video options or something?" And he's like, "I don't know," and he opens up the options, and it turns out he's playing Roblox Friday Night Funkin', like a version of it
Oh.
that someone made in Roblox, and it's oh my god, I died a little.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of this at all. Okay, so for you to tell me that it's popular now is wild to me because I keep bringing up this game Statmania, which is just, I mean, essentially a PC port copy of DDR. And copying all the tracks and songs and you know step placements of all the DDR tracks from like Mega or Ultra Mix or whatever. And it plays
Was
exactly like DD. Like if you started the game up and you didn't see that the menu said Step Mania, you'd think you were playing DDR, except you had a
yeah.
keyboard.
Now, and so that means that Stepmania then is not the one that did diagonal arrows?
True.
Which was the one that was diagonal?
That was God damn it. That was I want to say it was like something like I know it's not called Let's Dance, but why is that coming to my mind?
Alright, well, never mind, not important.
Yeah, not important.
Um,
But Friday Night Funkin', when I saw a video of it, I was like, oh my god, this is just Statmania. And for you to tell me that that's popular now is crazy to me, man. Because how many arcades are even around, let alone ones that are still operating that have DDR machines in them for kids nowadays to get into it? Like, where did this come from? It makes me wonder, is this Friday Night Funkin' game trying to revive the DDR formula, but just in an accessible way for people to play it, like vis-a-vis, like, you know, playing a computer where they can actually access it, not going to an arcade and such?
yeah, I'm not super knowledgeable on it. I know that some of the people from Newgrounds were involved in its creation.
Oh, wow.
Uh, and and then I think maybe so it's got a very Newgroundsy look to it as far as like the art style goes and stuff.
Mm,
And I think the soundtrack is like it's got its own soundtrack as well. Um, you know, I'm sure people have made like songs from other sources in it. Uh, but yeah, like the game itself I'm not exactly sure if it's finished yet. I wanna say that, like, they made it as, like, a little thing, and then because it got popular, they made a Kickstarter for Friday Night Funkin' the full-ass game or something, which I think was a successful Kickstarter, and I'm not sure if the game is actually out yet in its full form. Uh, but yeah, all I really know about it is that there was a successful Kickstarter for the full-ass game. There are some Newgrounds people involved. It's got its own original soundtrack. And yeah, some of that stuff, I guess it caught on with the kids at some point, probably partly because of its art style and soundtrack. Um,
interesting.
but yeah,
Have you,
it is interesting now that you mention it that it's not popular because people are looking at it and saying that looks like DDR.
well, that's me. I mean, I assume everyone else from my age group will probably also think the same, but just like I assume like younger kids who are playing it now, how many of them have actually played DDR is my question.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Not sure. But yeah, that's that.
Yeah, man.
I was thinking about the Norm Macdonald bit also.
Ooh,
Little
which one?
fighting, little fornicating.
What bit is this?
It's
Oh,
nothing.
I want to hear it now. I love Norm Macdonald. What is it?
I don't remember the rest of the bit. I'll have
God
to
damn it.
send it to you later.
All right, whatever.
The joke goes something like, "Hey, you want to join me later for a little, you know, at my place there's going to be a little fighting, little fornicating." And then I can't say the rest of the lead up cuz I don't remember it, but the punchline is that it's just going to be you and me. Right. You think someone's asking you about this and you think it's going to be like a whole party going on. Oh, no, it'll just be you and me. Anyway,
Well, that was a good note to
anyway.
end on.
Indeed.
I guess one quick note for anyone who's still around. I think we're deciding to change this to a bi-weekly show. So we kind of have been by proxy on accident kind of making this an almost kind of bi-weekly show anyway due to life complications. But generally, I think it's just easier for us to get more shit to talk about within a 2-week span than a one. So...
And give people more time to listen to it too.
Exactly. Yeah. So you guys will have episode 23 in hopefully 1 day short of 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, that's the plan.
All right. Well, I am Invictus Knox. You can find me everywhere on the internet as Invictus Knox with a V. TV's Knox, as some people say me. Say me, English, words, hard, cat, Mia, dash, Twitter, Twitch, twitch.com, twitter.com, /retro.
Yeah. My Twitter isn't worth mentioning. I stream on Twitch. That's all that matters.
Go to Twitch. That's where you find Dash. And here on YouTube. Give us a subscribe if you like it. Just give us a thumbs up or thumbs down if you like or dislike it. I don't know, man. We're just trying to figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Till episode 23.
There you go. All right. Thank you.
See you later, guys.